Hello, and let's talk about total social gain. So we're still talking about our demand and supply curve. So once again, let's draw it to give ourselves a visual of what's going on here. So we've got a demand curve. Where we can increase the number of items sold, but at the same time we are decreasing the price. So if we want to sell more items, we have to lower the price. And we're going to talk about a supply curve. Where if we increase the price, we are willing to make more items. Okay? We will put more out there if people will pay more, but people will buy more if the price is lower. Okay? So I've got this point here marked as the equilibrium point. But let's kind of talk about a few things here. We kind of work this out to where we talked about in the bottom here. Below this price point, this was a producer surplus. This was money that the supplier made by having that price point. And then similar up here, we have the consumer surplus. This was money that was saved because of this set price point. So let's just kind of take the far end of the curve here. So let's see if we can get a new color. Purplish seems really good. So let's try this. So if we come over to this part, and let's talk about this quantity. So the consumer saved this much. They were willing to pay the top amount up here on the red curve, but they only had to pay the green line. Okay? So they saved that much. So we're going to say the consumer gained this top portion. Okay? And then similar down here, we have the producer surplus. So the producer was willing to sell at this low price point a few items, but because they people were willing to pay more, they actually gained money. So up here in the yellow, this is money saved by the consumer. And down here in the pink shaded region, this is money gained by the producer. So the consumer saves money and the producer gains money. So all of this is a win-win that is shaded. So if we take that, we will call that the total social gain. So we want that area in there, which would run from 0 back at the x-axis all the way over to Q sub S. And what we have on top, we have the demand curve minus the supply curve on the bottom, and we'll integrate that. Now, that would tell us the area between these two curves. So that's a old concept. Maybe not very old, but it is something that we've touched before we got here. We can integrate two curves and subtract their difference and find the area between them. So that's what we have here. We have the area between two curves, which is the win-win for everybody involved. The consumer saved money on top. The supplier or producer made money on the bottom. So everybody's got more money in their pocket because of the price point that was set. Now I've got this one marked as the equilibrium point, which is good, but it doesn't have to be the equilibrium point. I don't know that I really need to move this. Let's just draw a second curve over here really quick. Here's my supply curve. And here is my demand curve. So I could pick a different price point. I could pick somewhere over here. And at this point I'm cutting this off. So if I talk about a shaded region, I'm not going to distinguish in colors, but if I talk about the total social gain, it would only be this part over here because of where I've set the price point. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe the producer keeps the price high to make it kind of exclusive and a special brand. So they don't want everybody to have it, so they keep it at a high price point and they don't produce enough that everybody would buy it. So it's selling out of the store, so it creates longevity. So that's an option. Or maybe they can't produce enough, possibility. So we don't have to have the equilibrium point to talk about social gain. This shaded part is still the social gain. But what is important is if we do use that equilibrium point over here where they intersect, then we would get the maximum social gain. The consumer would save the most and the producer would make the most. Okay? So we would have the most social gain. So it doesn't have to be this point over here. There could be reasons to set the price point at a different place. Like I said, but we can talk about the maximum social gain in this particular drawing on the left if we do use the equilibrium point. So the am I spelling equilibrium correct? I think I am misspelling it. Equilibrium point yields max social gain. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay? And in the following videos we're going to actually work an example, and we'll use one that goes with using some quadratics. Okay?